Okay. We're definitely live on YouTube. Well, I say that as if I know that for sure. I don't actually know that for sure. We're going to check. We're going to get this going. There we go. Hey, and now we're going to go live here. So we're going to go live here. We're going to do this. Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. Looks like we managed to go live on YouTube. Rock on. Now we're going to check LinkedIn. That will be another rock on. Okay, and then we'll be live, and that will be fabulous. Oh, look at me. I'm totally live, and I even got notified that I'm live, so this is wonderful. Okay, great. Let's make sure there's sound. All right, we got sound. Great. Okay. This is beautiful. So I worked extra hard this weekend. I was super excited. I don't want to actually wait. Do I only have one? I only have one earring in today. All right, that's what we're going with. So I was inspired. I work cyclically because I have ADHD. I'm autistic. I have chronic illness, and then I have energetic flows that come ebb and flow within me. So there are going to be days where I feel like I have a lot to give all day, and then there's days where I like want to do nothing at all, and I'm just like ugh, for like 3 to 4 hours, and then suddenly I get inspired by something, and then I'll just do a whole bunch of work. So as part of my decolonizing myself process, right, that I've been working on, one of the things that I've been trying to let go of is the 9 to 5 oppressed schedule, right? And what I mean is that the entire world in business operates on this Monday through Friday 9 to 5 activity, right? So in order for me to be able to engage in work, I do need to be around during those times. So that much I'm aware of. But my body doesn't operate like that. So my body doesn't work from 9 to 5. My body works from like, random 3 hours here, random 5 hours there, and so on. And what I've been really trying to do is understand, one, what are the things, what are the times of day or the times of week or the times of the month where I'm most effective, and trying to like just be mindful of what those things are, and lean into them when they're there and not lean into them when they're not. Now, this is a much easier said than done, because I can sit here and say it. And hi Kelly, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Hello. I'm glad you're here at the very beginning today. It's so nice to have someone right at the very beginning where it's like it gets you that pep or that dopamine. You're like, hey. So as I was, it's hard to do that. It's hard to work in your flow, right, when you also have meetings all the time and you have things going on. So it's difficult. This weekend, though, I had the opportunity to be able to be really mindful and thoughtful. So I had a pocket of time where I really could just sit and say, I want to really listen to my body and let it tell me what I want to do. And all day it had like 3 things that it really wanted me to do. One was sleep, so I slept. And then the other was schedule all of the intents on YouTube and LinkedIn, right? And it's hard to explain why. I get a lot of like delicious excitement out of when I get certain things scheduled or when I do graphics. I know it looks like work, and it is work, but it's something else. It's some sort of creative thing. So last night, in the middle of the night at like 9, I slept off and on yesterday, and then in the middle of the night, I was like, I must schedule all of these intent videos. So I literally went in and scheduled all of them, and it was delightful. So for everyone who wants to make sure that you get notified when I go live, check this out now. All of them are scheduled until the end of July, and then the August one is not happening at the beginning of August because we're going to be at the annual meeting. So we're going to be the annual meeting in August, at the very beginning of August. I'd like to do some live stuff. Kelly, you're going to be there, right? So maybe Kelly and I can do something. I want to do some more, like a live interview thing during, while we're there for the annual meeting. So like maybe just walk around. So for intent, instead of doing intent the way we do it now, maybe doing intent where it's like I'm walking around on the floor of NCURA, running into research administrators. Tell me how you feel about this, that kind of thing. I think that would be really fun to do. So that's the plan. That's the plan for intent. But let me pull up my my outline for today. Kelly, how was your weekend? What did you do this weekend? We got the announcements, by the way. Actually, no, because Kelly and I talked a bit about FRA PRA. So if you're going to be submitting if you want to submit for FRA PRA, now is the time to start looking. It has been announced. You're not going to make it to the annual meeting. Oh, well then I guess I can't interview you. You know what? I'll just get you on an interview via Zoom. We'll do it that way instead. But also, Hawaii was a really gorgeous, gorgeous, magical place. Oh my God, what a magical experience that was. I would definitely say myself, if I was given the choice, I would definitely pick Hawaii over going to DC. Not that there's anything wrong with DC other than it's, not Hawaii. What's interesting? The word hava in Urdu means wind. And so when I say Hawaii, I always, it's very interesting because I hear the word wind in Urdu, and then, it's an interesting kind of thing that happens there. Oh my God. This is my ADHD talking. I completely lost my... Okay, let's talk briefly about something. I want to talk really quickly about quick queries. Okay, so... Quick queries have been retired, everyone. So if you're one of those people who, like me, use the IPF number for your organizations to figure out what are the upcoming progress reports for the next 4 months, surprise, they're gone. Yeah, that's fun. So let me tell you a brief story about how I found this out. So I have a video coming out this week on RPPRs. All about, for new research administrators, what's an RPPR, what do you need to know, things like that. So I record the video, I make the snap sheet, I write the documentation. This thing is beautiful. It's so full of detail, absolutely gorgeous. I have a whole section in there where I say, hey, listen, you want to stay on top of things? Here's what you do. Use the NIH Quick Queries option. They have all these great tools, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. All done. Recorded the video, edited the video. Then on the ResAdmin mailing list last week, right after I'm editing the video, I'm literally in the middle of editing it, and someone says, hey, I noticed that the quick queries are gone. And I'm about to be the hero. I'm like, oh, don't you worry. I just did this. I'm going to pull it up and show you that it's still there. So I go to Google, look for IPF number. Nope. You get that error message from ERA Commons that says, yeah, no, sorry, this is the wrong page. It's no longer there. So I tried looking for, the 6 or 7 different ways that you figure out over the years to find this particular page, thinking to myself, this has to be a mistake. Meanwhile, on the ResAdmin mailing list, there's a conversation happening where apparently the NIH had sent out an email letting us know that quick queries were going to be retired. And when I saw that email, I actually remembered seeing that notification. But you know how it is. We get stuck in the middle of all of these things, and if somebody doesn't pull that out and flag it for you, it's not something that you'll necessarily register, as it did not register for me. So, the long story short, too late, is that I had to go in and edit that out of all of my documentation, all of the videos, all of the things, because the quick queries have indeed been retired. This doesn't mean, though, that you can't access this information, but it all does mean that it's going to be a little bit more cumbersome for people who are not already on the grant to be able to generate the reports they need to be able to stay on top of their progress reports. So, word on the street is that there is much sadness, not just within the research administration activity area, but also at the NIH among the grants management specialists and people who are actually involved in doing this on the other side. They too are dismayed at the loss of quick queries because, the quick queries are very heavily used. They're very heavily used. So despite the fact that they're being heavily used, they were still retired. So What I have been advised is that if you feel like you would like to see that come back, that reach out to your grants management specialist. They are not responsible for removing this. So there's nothing they're going to be able to do in terms of saying, I'm sorry that I got rid of it. Let me press that button. That's not why you're telling them. You're telling them because they are your voice to the Fed related to removing these things. And if enough people are clear about the fact that this provided them with value and they want it back and make enough noise, then eventually just to shut us up, they'll give it back to us. So this is not one of those things that you want to just say, oh, well, it's gone, and just let it go. If you want it back, say, oh, well, it's gone. Here, let me send a gently worded but clear email to my GMS letting them know that I would very much like to see this return. Here's why. If you're a research administrator and you're the one who's responsible for doing the RPPR and everything's in your court and the PI's court, then it's not as difficult of a situation because you're going to have all your PIs. You can still actually do this search. It just happens within Commons now. However, and I think it actually goes up further than 4 months. So when you do the search for your own organization, it actually lets you look, I think, into March 2025 for right now. So that's about, oh my God, almost a year, 9 months maybe. But you can't do that search unless you're an AOR signing official and have that role within the organization in ERA Commons. So that's where you're going to run into problems. And so what you're going to have to do for your admin staff, so let's say, for example, you have departments with a lot of admin staff who utilize this quick query routinely to be able to figure out when the progress reports were due for their particular investigators, you may need to send that to them. An alternative way of doing it would be to use an Excel spreadsheet. So like show them how to use an Excel spreadsheet that says basically, look, this is the end of the budget period. 45 days before that, the RPPR is due. 45 days before that, you probably want to start thinking about it and getting it ready. So let them put like a 90-day flag in their own calendar for each of these projects so that they get flagged so that they don't need the IPF number to be able to just pull the list. However, I found that that list was very helpful when it came time to auditing, I guess auditing is the word, because I like self-audited every 3 to 6 months on various things, right? So like I was always auditing something for myself to just check and make sure it's all correct. So for my self-audit, I would typically run the report for the IPF number because that would make sure that I didn't miss anything. If something had fallen through the cracks, maybe something was assigned to me, maybe a date changed, just stuff that happens that I didn't want to miss. Now I can do that again because typically I have that access, but if someone doesn't have that access, then they're going to come to me to get it. And now that's adding administrative burden to me because now I have to stop, do the thing. It's much easier when you can empower other individuals to be able to access this information as well. Okay. So just know this, the search for progress reports by IPF number is now no more, RIP, and talk to your GMS if you would like to have it returned. I'm not saying that it will get returned, but word on the street is that if you have the conversation, at least the word will go up the ladder to wherever it needs to get to. Okay. Alrighty, so that is one. Okay, what else do we have here? Today we're also, oh my God, so, so I saw this video this weekend, and I'm going to post about it. I may post about this 800 times. I'm actually meeting with this RA next week, Lacey Rhea. She blew my freaking mind, okay? So her and Mary Ellen O'Brien did this session with Cayuse. And it's weird. They did this session in 2022, so it's like 2 years ago. I hadn't seen it. And I did a session called Research Administration Through a New Lens at FRA, PRA. And it's really weird how Lacey and I are like simpatico on a lot of these ideas, like down to using the same language without even knowing that the other existed at the time. Love that so much, right? Because I love it when more than one person, it's like calculus, right? Calculus was invented in multiple places across the world at the same time because some things are just too good to only be one person coming up with the idea, right? Freaking love that. But what's great is that when you get multiple people who have similar ideas and visions for the future together, oof, imagine what can be created. Okay, so here's what I love about this. I want you to go watch this video that she and Mary Ellen O'Brien did. And the video is basically about metrics-based assessment of research administrator workloads. And she breaks down incredibly effectively how many hours we think we have, how many hours we actually have, taking into consideration an enormous amount of factors that I don't think we even consider most of the time. Like some of the stuff that she talked about in here, my mind was freaking blown, because we finally have numbers to assign to some things that were previously more abstract conversations. So it was really, really exciting. So she talked about how much time is actually available for a research administrator, and the way in which we currently distribute workloads using award dollars, PIs, so on and so forth, without taking into consideration additional complexities that exist within the position. Now, why I think this is so important is because if you have the change that's got to come in research administration vis-a-vis our salaries, job descriptions, getting enough resources and budgets, is that we need to be able to reframe the public relations, the PR that we have with the people making these decisions. And at this point, they don't have an understanding of what it is that we do. In fact, even people who I would say 15, 20 years ago may have had a general understanding of what research administration does, like research operations and stuff like that, like who were in charge of entire groups of research, right? As opposed to simply just the research administration part, which is how research has been set up for many, many, many years. Even those people at this point do not know what we do. And the field has evolved to the point at which it's a specialty on its own, and you can't put its leadership and decision and trajectory under people who do not have expertise in this area. It's almost like saying, hey, I want the Patriots to win a Super Bowl. I'm going to have Manessa coach them. What? Like, I'm really, really, really good at research administration. Like, really good at it. And I can coach in research administration. But I can't coach a football team. That is not the appropriate place to put me, right? So no matter how qualified someone is or how good someone is, without this granular infrastructural understanding of research administration as an industry and on the theoretical operational level, we become the +1 to whatever other thing it is that this person is doing. And this video is a really great video for all of us to watch. So anyone who is a research administrator in leadership needs to watch this video, because it's so beautifully enlightening. And after watching it, I was like, oh my God, you and I have to talk. So we're going to get on a call, and I think we scheduled it for like half an hour. And I was like, okay, first of all, we're going to need an hour. And second, we're going to need my sister. And then third, we're going to need Jen. Because like, I feel like what she created, which is also, by the way, a fabulous spreadsheet for benchmarking, is a very big piece of the puzzle towards making a lot of these changes as our industry evolves, and gets us to the point where we have base salaries for inexperienced, I have never done research administration in my life, of $85,000. And I will say this forever, right? Well, until COLA increases, and then I'm just going to make that number higher. But if somebody is being brought into this position with zero research administration experience, regardless of whether they have experience doing other things or not, even if they're fresh out of college, the fact that you think they have the skill sets necessary to be able to tactically understand what needs to be done in this job tells you that this person needs to be paid $85,000, right? That's a bare minimum. And then after 18 months in the position, they now have enough knowledge to be at 100,000. And I don't think anyone who's been doing this job for less than a year, for more than 18 months. Sorry, let me say that one more time. I believe that anyone who has been doing this job for more than 18 months needs to be at 100 plus. Okay. That is the level at which this job actually operates. It doesn't matter what you're putting in the job descriptions. It really doesn't. You can put in job descriptions, transfers expenses, fills out spreadsheets, does applications. Great. That's what you put in the spreadsheet. The actual scope and impact of this job is something completely different from what you're putting in the job descriptions. And so, one, job descriptions are currently bait and switches where you say, this is what you're going to do. Surprise, this is what you're actually doing. And then two is that they are very, very, very high level analyses of the job that are so high level as to be useless. So for example, I'm going to say that a surgeon cuts things up and sews them back together. You can make anything sound really simplistic, right? The surgeon just cuts people up and sews them back together. What's the big deal? That's nothing. Oh, you fly a plane? So you drive. You drive something, right? And anyone can make a job sound like it doesn't really do anything. And our job descriptions are written to be very tactically high. Bait and switch, Kelly. Yep, the bait and switch. It's a very tactical job. Come in, you're going to be doing all these things. Then the person comes in and the expectations of what is required is so far beyond that we have people who are panicking and leaving. They're like, I don't want to do this. And the reason why they don't want to do this is because they recognize it's a bait and switch. I don't think anybody would have a problem doing this if they were being paid adequately for the work that they're being expected to do. But HR needs to get on this stick. Leadership needs to get on this stick. So many people need to get on the stick. However, if there's anything that I learned being a marketer for many years, it's that people come at the pace at which they come, right? We can't make them hurry it up. However, we can find tools that will help them along the way. This particular set of conversations, so I will share it, and you know what? I'm gonna post it. Oh, let's see if this works. We're gonna do something fun. I'm gonna post it in here in LinkedIn. Oh, stop LinkedIn. Oh, will you stop with the copying? Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna post this as a comment. No, it didn't let me post a comment in there. Okay, I'm gonna post a comment in here and see what happens. Okay, apparently it's got too much. Oh, wow. Look at that. All right. Ah, okay. I tried to do the thing, but it's not. Okay, maybe that'll do it. Okay, I think it posted. If not, I'll post it afterwards. But, game changing. Game changing. You know what else I should have done? I need to get better at being able to switch between, like this version, the version where I'm sharing my desktop and the version where I'm not, so that we can kind of just go look at this video and look at this cool thing. Okay, but we'll get better at it. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll try it now. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna, so I have her link here. And what's really interesting in the link is that she also has, that benchmarking report that she talked about, which is so cool. There we go. Oh, look, this is gonna totally work. Ah, it worked! Look at that, Kelly. I put it in the chat so it didn't work on LinkedIn, but it did work on YouTube. Okay, so... Alrighty. I have completely kept lower salary to maintain my Cadillac healthcare as I know the amount of my benefits make up for the higher salary. You know, that's actually so interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because for many people, the health benefits are absolutely that's the added plus. And we recently had an experience, Allie and I, where like that became really evident. So Allie's company recently changed their health insurance providers. And when they changed it, this is like the last 3 weeks of my life, it's been a nightmare. So when they changed health insurance providers, these health insurance providers, even though in Massachusetts it is illegal for you to deny gender affirming care, because this particular United Healthcare is based out of Georgia, they have different laws in terms of how these things are applied, right? And so when we switched, when her company switched, we lost access to our gender affirming healthcare for surgeries. We have stuff scheduled. We have stuff that's coming up. This was a big fucking deal. And one of the first things that I thought to myself was, if I was still in healthcare, this wouldn't be a problem because in healthcare, you really, really do get some Cadillac health insurance. Now, there's many places in research administration I know where they're using like pretty shit healthcare and like people just do not get good healthcare, like because whatever the reason the university or hospital or whatever has chosen to use like the bargain basement healthcare, and obviously those are where, you're not getting, if you're not getting a great salary and not getting great healthcare, then reach out to me and let's see if we can find you a job somewhere else where you'll get better salary and better healthcare. I would love to help you do that. Right. But, for a lot of us, and me included, that Cadillac healthcare plan, it is like gold, because once you, especially when you see how quickly an organization can, just take it away, right? There's something very meaningful about being a place where you're going to be taken care of in that way. That's such a, hi Scarlett, so good to see you. Oh my God, United Healthcare is the absolute worst. Oh my God, I totally named them. I absolutely named them because they're shit. They're absolute shit. Like, I know they're shit and I'm not going to hide their name behind. Yeah, no. The United Healthcare literally has written like an entire fake medical story about many, many things. And that's what I told Allie, was that, this is where it starts, right? And now, like you said, not to get political, but ultimately our liberation is all tied in. So when do they decide that they're not going to cover my health care, right? When are they going to decide that they're not going to cover birth control pills? Like, when is it they're going to decide they're not going to cover whatever it is that they've decided they're not going to cover? And I don't want to be with health insurance that can immediately decide at any point in time, because of their location, that they can just choose to not cover me. So anyway, what we ended up doing, just as an FYI, everyone, what we ended up having to do is, I run my own business. And so because I run my own business, I am eligible to have a health insurance plan. And so now we opted out of their health insurance plan and are having to pay 20 grand out of pocket to be able to pay for our own health insurance through my company, because her company got rid of the health insurance. So that's the world we live in today, everyone. Hi, this is my last week. It was super fun. Not at all. It wasn't fun at all. Not at all. Okay. But now, as an aside on that one, we were talking about salaries. Okay, we were talking about other things. Oh, okay. So I want to also talk briefly about, we talked about the RPPRs. We talked about, just as an aside, if you are someone who is having trouble with the NOAA RPPRs, there's a post in the ResAdmin mailing list, which obviously will be archived now, so you may not be able, you can get it from the archive. But if you're someone who is having trouble with the NOAA RPPRs, check out the ResAdmin mailing list. There was a post written a few weeks ago. I actually have the text, so I can also send it to you if you want it. It basically is that there's a whole series of screenshots and guides, because apparently the NOAA RPPR is actually having some trouble. And so, because I think they just migrated it over in like the last couple months or something. So in order to ensure that if you're running into problems with that, they have something to help you with that. Oh my God, the pre-existing condition scare is terrible. And it's like, I don't know what qualifies as a pre-existing condition anymore, right? Because I've had some of these conditions since I was a child. So like, does migraines count? Are you still going to cover that? The American healthcare system is, but I grew up in Pakistan, right? And I don't know what it's like there now, but when I was growing up, there was no health insurance. So everything got paid for out of pocket. And so on the flip side of it, like, money was different there also, because it's like $1 was like 72 rupees. So like the exchange rate, but it's very interesting when you have to pay like all out of pocket. Who is it? Some country, I don't know why I'm blanking right now, but there is a country who has sort of figured it out, and they like do great healthcare. Now, as far as I'm aware, this country is actually politically not great in other ways, but their health insurance system is good. I thought it was pretty new for NOAA. I haven't done a lot of NOAAs, so, but my understanding is they're rolling it out, that they're having a little bit of trouble, but they have some really great support. So here, let me actually, you know what I'll do? I'll share this link too. I am so thirsty. Okay. This is for the Department of Commerce. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that'll help you. And then, again, this isn't my area of expertise, but there is a whole guide that'll tell you how to do it if you're running a problem. I just want to let you know that problem may arise. Okay. Let's talk about IDC rates. This actually, I've been looking forward to talking about this for a while. I know who loves talking about IDC rates, everybody. Yay, it's me. Okay, here's why I'm excited to talk about it. Earlier, in this episode, I mentioned that I have a video coming out talking about RPPRs, what they are for new research administrators, so on, right? This is my research administration in a nutshell series for new RAs to kind of get an idea of the lay of the land for whatever activity it is that they're working on at any given time. So my next video after the RPPR is IDC. And as I was doing the IDC part, this became the ideal time to talk about the changes in uniform guidance and how those things will apply, because one of the biggest questions that keeps popping up, and I'm just gonna have to blow my nose now because I'm feeling allergic. Excuse me, please hold. Okay. So yes. So one of the challenges that's popped up with as we're moving into the new uniform guidance is how will the IDC changes, the changes to MTDC, the changes to subawards, all those things, how and when will those be implemented and rolled out, right? So I, this weekend, watched a couple of videos. FDP did a video in May of 2024, so it was just like a month or so ago, and then Giltran did one about, I want to say a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And then I have his video from Attain listed in the snap sheet for anybody who wants to go see that. They talked about a few things. So just in case you're not up on what the changes are going to be, is that the modified total direct cost base can be adjusted to where you can take IDC on the first 50,000 of a subaward instead of the first 25,000. So the threshold for which we can claim IDC on a subaward has increased to 50,000, and for equipment has increased to 10,000. There are some other changes to the IDC language. For example, the de minimis rate for organizations that do not have a negotiated rate has gone up from 10 to 15. And a few other things, threshold for supplies and stuff like that. So how will these things be implemented? So in the most recent session with FDP, where they had a couple of people, I think it was Andrew, I keep saying Andrew Riggs, but I think that's that's the other guy from Wham who wasn't George Michael. So I don't think his name was Andrew Rigg. I think it was something else, but I don't remember his actual name. But he was very nice. And Deidre Harrison. I remember her name. Okay, so the two of them they talked about the uniform guidance, and the question that popped up more often than most of the others was related to how these IDC changes will be implemented. So Giltran echoed this. Both sessions indicated that the way that these changes would be implemented would be similar to the way the changes were implemented when we implemented the uniform guidance back in 2014, which was that if you have recently, let's say you just finished negotiating your IDC rate like 6 months ago, right? 5 months ago, it's going to have the 25,000 threshold, whatever the equipment threshold is for you, and it's going to have that older pre-change guidance in there. You are going to have to maintain that MTDC until your next federally negotiated rate agreement conversation comes up. So now when you go to renegotiate your rate 3, 5, whatever years it is, that's when you're going to add in all of the new provisions. If you are currently in the middle of negotiating your rate, this would be the time for you to talk with your cognizant federal agency, the consultant that you're working with, or whoever, to make sure that you're putting those provisions in there. You can start talking about that right now to have those put in for the future date. Any future negotiations, obviously you'll include them. For any existing subawards, for any existing awards, nothing's going to change. It's just going to remain the same. You're going to pull the IDC the way you would normally off the 25,000 and so on. Now, for the things that do not require the negotiated rate, so for example, increase in the supply threshold, and then there was one other. Oh, the de minimis rate for going from 10 to 15, those, because they don't require a federally negotiated rate, those are going to be effective on, hold on, I think that's 10/1 of 24. However, according to Andrew Rigg, not the guy from Wham, right now the challenge that is currently happening is that a lot of the agencies are, if you call them, they're still interpreting it in their own way. And so while everybody's starting to get on the same page, some of the agencies are kind of not recognizing that they're going willy-nilly and not actually in alignment with what the OMB actually wanted or intended with this. And so this came up in the conversation with the FDP at the FDP meeting, that if that does happen, then reach out, let them know, and this is where the conversations have to happen, because that's how when the rubber hits the road, that's when we start to workshop some of these issues. So the thing to keep in mind is that how the IDC changes are going to be implemented will vary heavily on organization, where you are in your negotiation rate, whether you have a federally negotiated rate or not. A lot of different things, whether you have patient care, subaward, like there's so many different things that factor in. What I would recommend is like and subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when the IDC video and snap sheet goes up. It also includes a section specifically on the changes and links to resources, including links to the entire section in the conversation where they talk about what the IDC conversation was. So you can just read that if you want to, but also straight to the IDC portion of the actual uniform guidance, so that if you want to sort of be like, okay, what does it look like now? Okay, what does it look like now? You can take a look at that. Okay, so keep an eye out. Changes, they are coming. And this is at the moment what we have as guidance. And honestly, the truth is I feel a little comforted by this guidance because it's so similar to the guidance we received 10 years ago. I was like, how many years ago was it? Oh, right, it was 10 years ago. Yeah, so 10 years ago. Oh, God. Kelly, Scarlett, I know that Scarlett and I were literally just talking about this the other day, so I know Scarlett was there for that. Kelly, I know you remember this. But God, do y'all remember when we were doing the first time round? Because, like, at this point, we have, like, a giant document that's already 650 billion pages, right? But do you remember before when there were like 3 million circulars and everything was a circular and you had to find the right circular, and then they're like, we're going to consolidate it. And I remember thinking to myself, my God, how are they going to do this? No, the old days. Those were fun times. I have to say, if we could go back to doing paper apps, I would. I love paper apps. Okay. So one last thing I want to leave you with. Oh, look at this. Such a beautiful, we're just dovetailing into what I wanted to talk about at the end. And then we're going to end right on time. It's going to be beautiful. Beautiful. Oh my God. Were you really, Scarlett? Oh God. Then you were the person that, and I'm going to get to my tea in a second, but you were the person then who I remember. I mean, I didn't know you at the time, but I vividly remember thinking to myself, this is a monumental task and they're doing God's work. Like, I just didn't understand because it was so big and so monumental. And the idea of being able to put it all into one little document, one little 650 page document, but you know what I mean? One document seemed so monumental, right? And now we look back and it's been done for years, right? And how fun. Thank you, by the way, Scarlett. Can I just thank you now after all these years? I'm thanking you. Okay. I'm going to throw in my countdown really quick. I need to get more iced tea because I'm feeling very thirsty. And then we'll come back, finish up talking about... I imagine it was a giant team. You know, I can't remember if you all got feedback from... I imagine you did, but I was a baby RA then. Like, I was not really that baby because I've been doing this for like 20 years. So I think, let's put it this way. I was not a baby RA, but I lacked confidence in my skill sets. I didn't feel like I had anything to offer. So I don't remember if there was what our involvement as RAs were, but I do know that if I had to go back and do it again now, I would want to be more involved because I realized it wasn't as scary as it seemed. But I feel like, I don't know, like as a new RA, there's just so much stuff. You know, Kelly and I were talking about this earlier, that, the job description for this job looks like it's a list of things that you do. And then you get the job and you're like, oh my God, this is a really intense job and has a lot of implications. I am responsible for protecting the organization from millions and millions and millions of dollars in fines and findings. And I am also responsible for stewarding millions and millions and millions of dollars. The strategic importance of our job becomes evident, and I think that it's always been that way, but it's getting more and more and more, like now it's getting more and more intense, right? Just like it's almost if you let gravy simmer for too long, eventually it gets to the point where it's like too much, put the broth back in, right? You need to like thin it out a little bit more, right? And I feel like that's what's happening. I think we've kind of like congealed it to the I was too insecure then. I think one of the best parts about this particular dude, we couldn't do it without y'all. Like, this is a team effort. But I think one of the things that I like around this time, like when this time around, is that I can see the difference in myself, right? I feel more confident now. Like I don't mind talking about these things and putting my foot down and saying, yeah, this is what I learned. And even if I'm wrong, that somebody will call me out on it and we'll learn together. But I remember being so anxious and so nervous when I was younger about just getting it wrong or being seen as a failure, that I think I was hesitant to contribute in a way that would have been as impactful as it could have been. So yeah, Scarlett's being my therapist this morning, everybody. Thank you, Scarlett. Okay, I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to get some tea, and then we're going to talk about quickly. Oh, you know what? I don't think we're going to talk about it. I actually think instead we're going to just wrap up, and then I'm just going to make y'all wait for this conversation. We're going to make you wait for it. Okay, here's what you're going to wait for. We're actually, the thing I wanted to close on, but now that I'm looking at it, it's 9:47. We're not going to have enough time to talk about it this week. Is the mistake that mistakes that organizations make when rolling out new technologies. And what I'm hoping to come out of this, and this is why I kind of want more time for it, and so this is a good time to sort of like bring it up and then see if we can marinate on it, is that I was talking to someone the other day who has had a fabulous rollout in their organization for software, and they're like really happy. And I have to tell you, nothing makes me happier than when I'm talking to an RA who is happy about the way things are going in their organization, because we all know that there's a lot of stories of people who are not happy, or they're not feeling cared for, or like they have adequate support or whatever, right? So when we hear stories from like, oh my God, our software rollout was so good, it was fabulous, I'm like, oh my God, please tell me more, please tell me more. So from both being part of successful and failed rollouts, and yeah, Kelly, we're going to talk all about implementation. Bring your friends next week. That's what I sort of want to talk about. I want to talk about what are our successes. So if anyone listening is like, oh, listen, I want to send you an email and tell you about this success story, oh my God, please do. If you want to get on a call and tell me about your success story and you're okay with me recording it, I would love to be able to share it with others, because I think the biggest challenge that faces us as research administrators is this: we are isolated. Everybody's all over the country doing their own thing. We get together for, we're gonna meet with my Collaborate community. Hey, Kelly. I'm gonna meet with my magazine community. Hey, Talise. I'm gonna meet with the annual meeting. Like, there's always somebody or the other you're gonna meet in these little buckets, but it's very difficult for us to sort of like have a space where we're like breaking down all these things and almost talking about it like all the time to keep the momentum going. But more importantly, also shining out beacons to each other and saying, oh my God, Kelly did this at her campus, reach out to her. Julie did this, Alia did this, right? Saika did that, right? And then now we know who has done what, instead of like what like 3 or 4 years ago. And this is still happening in many organizations where Kelly's figuring it out in her organization, I'm figuring it out in my organization, Leah's figuring it out in her organization, Ben is figuring it out in his organization, right? And we're all recreating the wheel individually. So what I'm really excited about is I want to talk to more research administrators who are like, we solved this problem, or this is great, and get those voices out there so that people can be like, oh, I have that problem. I can reach out to that RA and figure out how they did it, right? So that we can quickly, much more quickly than we do now, generate momentum from the University of Michigan to the University of Iowa, to UMass, to whatever it ends up being, right? I know. I have some horror stories too. It's so funny. You know what? We should get on a call, Kelly. We should get on a call and you and I will talk about, this is why we're on the ERA committee together. We should get on a call, record it, and talk about successful and failed implementations, what worked, what didn't. We can pull that out as clips. It would be absolutely fabulous. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Well, I mean, I'm not volunteering you, Kelly. If you want to do that, then you're more than welcome to. But what we're actually going to do is save the conversation about implementation for next week so that we can talk about it in more detail, spend a little bit more time on it. Because there's, we've all got some lessons learned. But there are some universal insights that I think that when shared, though not often listened to, because I think one of the things that any of us who've been involved in implementation and rollout is that we're not often listened to, right? So we are the experts, we've done the thing, but like there is a political vision for software rollouts, and often the implementation aspect of it is it interferes with the political rollout. So what a lot of organizations tend to do is they tell the story of the rollout. However the rollout's actually happening is not super relevant. It's just, oh, we're rolling something out. Here's the story. Here are the emails. Here's everything is. And then when suddenly it's radio silence, they have nothing to say because what they wanted to do was done, in that they rolled it out with a really great story. And then someone else is typically left to pick up the broken pieces of emotions and self-esteem and trauma that get created when employees realize that they were not considered as part of a software rollout, right? And so this is sort of how it tends to play out. So there are some definite universal truths related to software implementation that if you follow them, you will have a much more successful rollout. And none of it's rocket science. I think almost all of it is stuff that I guarantee to you, many of us have been saying for years. The challenge, I think, and this is what we're going to bring next week, the challenge as we roll off today, is how do you translate that into a language where the people in the leadership positions actually give a shit about the fact that this is something that's very important that needs to be done. Oh yeah, Kelly said yes. Okay, we're going to get some fun videos now. This is going to be great. This is fabulous. Okay, as a reminder, if you want to do a fun video with me about literally anything and you're like, I want to nerd out about whatever, let's get on a video and talk about it. I want you to clip it up and put it on YouTube. And yes, I will do this. I will do this. So just reach out to me and say, I love to nerd out about this. Let's record it. Let's do it. All right. I'm going to head out. Syra and I are going to record today, right after this. Speaking of recording, we're going to record how to use LinkedIn. So we're doing a session for the STACK program where we're talking about professional development for research administrators. These are new baby RAs just starting out. Okay, you've learned about research administration. You're going into your role. Next question is going to be, how do you grow professionally in this field? It's very, very exciting. I'd love to hear your thoughts and insights if you want to send me messages and be like, oh, make sure you include this. It'd be so fun. So please do, because again, crowdsourcing. Other than that, I want you to have a wonderful, wonderful week. Keep an eye out for all of the fun stuff that is coming out this week. I can't even begin to tell you how many videos, stories. There's a podcast coming out with the real Slim Sherry. If you follow her on TikTok, she's amazing. So keep an eye out, and I will see y'all next Monday at 9 a.m. for Intent, where we will just nerd out about research administration. Have a wonderful, wonderful Scarlett. We should do it too. We should do it too. In fact, I actually wanted to ask you if you would do a call with me, but we only just met. And so I wanted to get to know you a little bit better before I jumped in and be like, oh my God, can we record a call together? But now it's too late. Now I'm just asking you. All right. I'm headed out. You are all amazing. Have a great